Would you like to go first?
I'm still thinking of mine.
Yeah, so I'll share a significant change that occurred more than a year ago. It's funny how I can think of a lot of things that have um, occurred within the year.
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, I would say, so the moment that I uh, left my job in healthcare and went to run LFY consulting full time. Um, I guess a positive result is that I didn't work that position anymore. But honestly, I think I left that job because I personally thought that it was sucking like me dry. Like I felt like I was actually almost becoming resentful towards that job. Um, I learned after a while that it wasn't the job, right? It was my choice. I was becoming resentful and I was pulling away and I was becoming negative, and it just like became this negative cycle. So when I left, it seemed like a positive change, but I would actually say the positive result of that was that I learned that I was in control of how I perceived my work on a daily basis. And I mean, I think if I went back in time, like I probably could have made more of that position, that role, than I did at the time. I could have made better relationships. I wouldn't have burned bridges. Like I would have, maybe even climbed up the chain a little bit longer, instead of pulling away, becoming resentful, thinking I needed to launch a business to get out of it all.
What was eventually, because it's kind of daunting to go off on your own and start a new thing. Like, what was there like a moment that you were like, I'm doing it, or like a catalyst for that change? Or did it happen gradually and you were just so resentful that you're like, I have to get out of here?
Well, I actually didn't just choose I need to get out of there. I ended up having a moment where I was walking down the street and really disliking the fact that I had to go into this job. It was a great job, by the way. I could walk to work. I mean, it's a good job, and I had it pretty easy. I had a great work-life balance. But I had a moment that kind of hit me, and as I looked around as I was walking, it looked like everybody else had this huge boulder on their shoulders, this huge weight on their shoulders, and I was like, okay, other people feel this way. We don't have to feel this way. What do I want to do? And I figured out what I wanted to do and the industry I wanted to work in, which was professional and personal development, which is what I do now. But I didn't initially say, I want to launch a business in this field. I initially went to a different department at my job and said, can I work here? And they said, sure. But then nothing happened. And then we got acquired. So then nothing really happened.
Hmm.
And so then I looked for other jobs in that field, and those were a huge pay cut. And I had a background in entrepreneurship. I had a background in coaching, and I said, what would launch me forward in this industry? And it was finishing, going to get my doctorate and then launching a business, which I did at that same time. And so, eventually, as I was launching that business and getting my doctorate, I built up enough of an income and met enough clients that it made sense. So it was a longer process than like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I'm going to go do this. I tried a couple different
A
avenues.
gradual arc, but I like it because I'm sure as each shift happened, you were feeling more and more like you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you never truly know if you're doing the right thing. You just have to say, this is what I'm doing right now, right? That's like kind of the thing of change. It's, do you, and I'll probably say this again, do you want to let change dictate your life, or do you want to be the change that you want in your life?
Hmm. I like that. I would say that my moment is probably like kind of actually the reverse of yours. I was consulting and working for myself, and then decided to join Creative Mornings full time and go back to having the regular job job. And it was a really interesting transition because I was used to working remotely, working for myself, kind of calling the shots, and then I was part of a team and going into an office. I got to move to Brooklyn and was living and working in New York, which was a dream, is a
Wow.
dream. I'm currently in Canada, which is why I'm saying was, but it's just for right now. Um, and I think I was always resistant to going back into working for an organization, but the positive result is essentially that like this is my job during a global pandemic, is creating space for people around the world to gather and learn from one another. And I can't imagine a better way to spend my time. The change happened more than a year ago, but the positive results, there have been many, but one of them that I'm feeling right now, and in the last few weeks, has just been how grateful I am to be part of the community and to be able to work with this community.
You know, I always see, so I work with a lot of people that are in career transitions and pivots and launching businesses or just job crafting and, navigating that space. And I always like to say that the career it's not a single point, right? It's a path, it's a journey. And so I'm curious, do you ever think, or are you now, still consulting, or do you think that you want to work for yourself later on? Or you're like, no, I can work for an organization that aligns with my values and be happy there for the rest of my life?
It's a good question. I'm now so spoiled that I can say I would only work for an organization that would match my values if I wasn't consulting and working for myself, which I think will be an inevitable eventual. But right now it's the best thing. And I felt like when I was consulting, I was kind of rinse repeating and doing stuff that I could do in my sleep. And this has been a great learning curve and an opportunity to sort of increase the toolbox.
I love that. There's a really good book called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. So you're nodding, so I think you've heard of it. And the whole concept is about building career capital. I mean, the career, it's like I said, it's a long, long journey ahead. And if we just, what happens if you just pick, like, this is my business, this is what I'm going to do. And then you go do it. And like, how much are you losing in terms of development of your own skill sets if you're not surrounding yourself with people that have done different things than you, or just even within organizations, like learning how organizations work. You don't know that unless you're there. So I almost got to the point where thinking of full-time jobs as contracts. I mean, in actuality, they kind of are, right? Because it's like, I can choose to end this at any time. They can choose to end this at any time. Mm-hmm. I am being paid a certain amount of money for a year, at least for right now, and I can renegotiate this contract at any time.
Yeah, exactly. There's some people who have popped back from their breakout rooms.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, let's see. So I'm gonna, and I'm not seeing them. Let's see. How many people do we have in our room right now? That's 17. Okay.
Are you able to see the gallery view when you're still sharing your screen?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Would anyone I'll close the breakout rooms in a second. Would anyone like to share something that they were talking about? Well, in our conversation with Christina, we were discussing pretty much both of us shared changes in our careers from, for me, full-time to working for myself, and her working for herself to transitioning back to full-time. And it was a great conversation just about how, the career isn't like one singular point. It's called a career, not a job. And how no matter if you're working for yourself or working for somebody else, you're always developing and learning new skills and building your career capital and experiences, which is just helping you become more prepared for the next decision in your life.
Yeah.
As we still wait for everyone to join the main room, would anyone else like to share real quick?
Sure, I'll share. We did a bunch on, we talked a lot about our moves, which was interesting. We all kept the same theme. So that was cool.
Where did you move from?
I moved to Asheville from California years ago, and somebody moved to Vancouver from another part of Canada, Winnipeg, I think. And then the other one moved from China as a child to New York. So it was interesting to see how all those moves made such a difference in our lives.
Can you share a positive result of your move?
Just that we have a better life. My positive result was that I healed my past and was able to live the ideal life that I live now.
Wow. That's a powerful statement. I'm just like letting that sink in for a moment.
It's pretty cool. It's amazing. I mean, I know that we're in this crazy time, but I'm dealing really well with it, which is crazy, but also good. So.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you to everyone, by the way, for joining in these breakout rooms and sharing something that's changed in your life and being open and continuing, because we're going to keep going. We're going to go to our second question of the day. We're going to keep storming. We have two more. So what is the one thing that has changed drastically in your life due to the current situation? And this may be too soon to ask this question, but I'd love for you to at least brainstorm with the other people in your room. What was the positive result of that change? So what is one thing that has changed drastically in your life due to the current situation? And what was a positive result of that change? I'm going to open up all the rooms. Hey, Christina.
Yeah.
Wendy in breakout room 11 asked for help. Do you mind if I jump over there and see what's up?
Yeah, sure. I'll hang out here.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, and
Hi,
there's
Wendy.
Papa.
Hello.
Papa's dressed.
Did you mean to ask for help?
No,
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I was just trying to get rid of my mute.
Okay, I'm gonna head back out. Enjoy.
Oh, bye, Papa.
Bye.
So I'm just gonna hang out. What do I do? Wait, what am I doing?
Do you want to share what was one thing that has changed drastically in your life due to the current situation and a positive result of that change?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. So I think I was probably forced to look at myself and maybe my unproductivity that existed prior to this, because I was always tired commuting to work and going to the office. So I think, not having to commute every day, and I'm not a morning person. I struggle waking up. I always have, so really being able to feel like I got my time back. It's changed a lot, and I feel like as a result, I feel like these virtual field tripping classes are meant for me. If this was offered at the same time and it was after work day, I would just stay home because I'd be tired, and then I think you missed out on a lot of opportunities. So, I think there's been a lot more connection, and I've started to really explore what I want to do next, professionally and personally. So, that's all.
Wow, that's huge. So no commute time is a definite win. Have you taken up anything else to fill your time other than being, as you said, less sleepy and wildly productive?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've just started, I think a lot of us probably agree that when we, go to college, we don't always, if that is the path that we take, we don't always know what we want to do at that age. And I think, I wasn't really sure. And you have, parents in your ear who are saying, this is the direction that will give you stability and security. And then you have the things that you want to do and try and explore. And I think when you're, a creative person, you sometimes go with maybe what's safer. So it's allowed me to start to explore the things that, to kind of go back to when I had a lot of these passions, when I didn't know what I wanted to do and explore them. So I'm currently, a corporate event planner. So I'm a field marketing manager. My job has been very impacted by this because it's a lot of in-person events. But, I've always been obsessed with documentaries and documentary filmmaking and listening to people's stories and, really hearing them and giving people a platform, people who otherwise wouldn't have one. So yeah, I've started exploring how I can maybe, use this opportunity as a time to, start to learn the process of how to make my own documentary. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, something that I can be proud of, that I know I did by myself.
Wow, that's huge. I love that.
And I absolutely love how you just ended that too. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, absolutely love that. It's so true. Any step forward just continues to build momentum. And if you're activating those areas of creativity and values that matter to you deep down, like it usually can open the floodgates, especially if they haven't been tapped for a while. Like, if we dammed them up to like have a certain job or have a certain life and lifestyle, and then now in this current time, it's like, oh, wait a second, what's behind those doors? And you crack them open a little bit, and it's like, oh, I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's cool. It's a cool feeling to have. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Someone else like to share as well?
Well, I shared with my co-worker person, but she had a connection problem maybe, so we went out of the room. So my name is Monique. I'm from Montreal. I was telling the other person that the thing that changed dramatically is the way I do stuff at my place. Usually because I have a tight schedule from going to work, commute, going back home, doing dinner, or like doing stuff. Now I'm letting it go easily, and like I'm accepting the fact that not everything has to be done on the same time. So, and because since I have too much time to spend, I'm still working, but like I can manage my own time at work. So what I'm learning is that planning is a good thing, but we have to let it go of some non-essential stuff that we follow or we tend to do, and that's just us. So that's it.
What are some ways that you're finding that you're able to I guess, manage your time in a way that is more fit for you?
Well, first I'm doing sessions on creative board and FieldTrips. So a secret, I do it while working, like on another screen sometimes.
Oh.
Because like I can instead of doing meetings at my work, I have some Excel or some MS project to do, and that I can do it, like I can manage to multitask. So that's one of the things. I read more, I search more, and instead of like doing my laundry or doing my bed, or like no one's here, so so that's it.
It sounds like, prioritizing the things that you actually truly want to do more.
Yeah. I'm not telling I'm not doing stuff. Yeah, I'm doing it, but like take it easy.
I'm really curious to see how the world adapts back.
Well, my manager at work told us like we are not working from home. We are in a pandemic trying to work from home. So that's a difference. We are not. It's a difference, and that's what we are adapting, and we are doing how things can be done. So we don't need to stress about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think when we have these breaks in our structure, I think we learn a lot of things about ourselves, like what we're capable of, what we're not, maybe what we thought we weren't capable of is now completely different, right? Oh, I can never work from home. Wait, hold on a second. Right? It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat to see, like when we do feel like we have a little bit of control and we add a little bit more intention to what, change happening to us, what we can accomplish. I mean, I struggled initially in the beginning a decent amount. When not being able to leave my home, or to usually go to the gym or just go work from a different place, because I was working from home at the time. And what it did, it kind of mushed everything together. Like it mushed my relationships, my social connections, my work, my working out. And so all of a sudden, instead of having structure in different areas that I could go be a different person and have a different release, connect to myself in a different way, it was just blob. And it was usually that blob was pretty much all work. And so I got drained really fast, really quick. And so I took some steps to change that. Like it made me buy a new desk and buy a rug to section off part of my apartment, to use a certain cup when I'm at work, to section off part of my apartment for working out. And now it's nicer out in Chicago to go for runs to get out of the house, to go, it was like, to schedule in social time and then have everything else closed, like my work computer closed, to schedule in reading time and creative time. And so, it really was like intentional structure, right, to my life, but it was structure. So I felt like I was living kind of my normal life again, in a way, like pulling things from that worked for me and integrating them back into what I have now in a way that was possible. So it was cool because I learned, because of that, though, I learned that, like, oh, I didn't do something for my spiritual self today. Oh, I didn't do something for my creative self today.
Yeah.
And it made me be much more intentional about really honoring all of me, instead of just automatically filling my cup because I could leave the house and go to the gym. Or I could leave the house and go see my friends. So it almost made me like more accountable, right, for how I felt each and every day.
Yeah, that's a good. That's we are like dividing every hour of our day and like plannings on themes or on subjects that we are interested in. So that's a good thing.
Have you guys found that you've had to sort of carve out specifically non-screen time? Are you getting any of like the Zoom fatigue that's happening?
Yeah, the first thing that I said to myself, like, I need to go to a doctor for my eyes. Like, I'm like, people are watching Netflix. I'm all the time working in front of the screen, so I can't at night. I can't even like look at my screen or the other screen.
Yeah, I bought new blue light glasses just to help with my eyes and eye strain. I look a little RoboCopy, so I don't wear them all the time when I'm in events. And yeah, I mean, I usually also, like, I would read from my phone. And so now that just added way too much screen time right now. And so it's like real books again, which I haven't done in a while.
Yeah.
And I give everyone like kudos for being at an event, because that's more screen time. I mean, it's like, let's connect with screens, let's work with screens. And it's just like, let's work out with screens. And so I really thank everyone for being here.
Ben, are your blue light glasses prescription, or can you get them without prescription?
You can get them prescription, but I don't need a prescription. So I just have them regular frames, just amber frames. And I get them from this company called Gunner Optics, which is it's like a gaming company, but they're one of the only companies that has been like approved by like eye doctors for decreasing eye strain and filtering out blue light that can degenerate your eyes.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Has it made a difference for you?
Oh, a ton. So I have been using blue light glasses. So I've had a different pair in the past, but I just haven't been wearing them because I don't think they look good. So I bought one that I thought looked good, so I wear them more. But yeah, I used to get headaches all the time. And my eyes would be really tired. They would get itchy and stuff too. And so now it's like, I feel like I can actually look at a screen and not feel like my eyes getting tired or getting headaches. And
I think they look pretty cool.
I appreciate it. Well, now since we have so much more screen time, I have been wearing them all the time, pretty much. No matter if I have meetings.
You should put them if they can make your eyes rest, or like we are focusing on talking, so we don't need to.
Yeah, someone actually told me, this was a topic the other day. You really should look away from your computer screen like every so often, every 15 or 20 minutes, and you try focusing on something in the distance. My friend had a plant called their eye plant, and so they would look at it throughout the workday to just give their eyes like a break to blink and to refocus on different things at different distances. So it just kind of, from what I understand, it gives your eyes a break from looking at the one thing the same distance, with this bright light. So sorry everyone that just joined us as we talk about eye strain, because we were sharing how our lives have changed and we're stuck at home, and all the things that have basically, we've learned about ourselves because of that. Would anyone like to share something that came up in their group?
Do we just speak up, or?
Yeah, please just speak up.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the themes that came up in our group was just, people getting almost like getting back in touch with their sense of humanity. So that could mean like having an appreciation for the fact that other people's current life situation might be different, and so therefore they might react to things in a certain way, or even getting in touch with the fact that we're not necessarily doing things that feed us, and the importance of that, in terms of the balance. Sometimes when we talk about work-life balance, it almost feels like we're problematizing life for work, and this is kind of a way back to kind of say, no, it's actually, there should be a balance between the two. It's not that one is problematic over the other.
Yeah, I've heard it said, it's that you need to think of it as in harmony, right? Because one is going to maybe outbalance the other at all times. But if we look at something not as a chore and not as like work, but as something we're choosing to do for ourselves and frame it in that light, then it almost can be this mental shift where we're now, okay, so how can I make this work more for me? Yeah, thank you for sharing that. This is a big topic of conversation. I host a call every Tuesday too, and it's an event called How Not to Lose Your Shit and Other Mindfulness Tools. And last night, a big topic of discussion was being more aware of our thoughts. And right now, I'm just saying, instead of defining our thoughts, this is anger, this is anxiety, this is stress. This is how I feel. Physiologically, this is how I'm responding. I'm tense in my shoulders. My heart feels like it's racing. So then what can you do about that? Oh, I can roll my shoulders a little bit. I can take a couple deep breaths. And so if you don't define your emotion as negative, you're more apt to find solutions, more apt to just roll with it and not actually be controlled by it. Would anyone else like to share before we jump into our next brainstorming session?
We got a little more silly, or I did. And we talked about kind of me as a photographer, that because of this, I'm in the historic district of Savannah, Georgia. So I got the shots I needed that you wouldn't have otherwise when the tourists are there. So we got to giggle off of that. So.
I like that we're having a little bit of fun too.
Yeah.
As we should be having fun, right? We can go deep, but we can have fun at the same time. Okay, so we're going to all group together and have a group discussion at the end. So I want to keep moving forwards and get to the next question. So we're going to brainstorm for the third time. And this is where we're going to talk about change. We've been talking about things that have happened to us in terms of change, but not about change itself. So can you define what change means to you? And then brainstorm and choose an additional action that you can take to create positive change in your life right now. So we've talked about how things have happened to us, and then we figured out a positive change from the things that have happened to us. I'd love for you to actually just choose something that you can do to create a positive change moving forwards in your life. Any questions? I'm going to open all the rooms. Please join and enjoy. Hi again, Christina. I'm so happy you're here because I would just be sitting in this room talking out loud.
It's always good to have a main room pal.
Yeah. And then whoever else is left in here can chat with us if they'd like. And make sure that no one's alone in their breakout rooms. Let's see.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How many people are in the breakout rooms, approximately?
So right now I have between 3 to 4. Okay.
I think it's very weird. Like, this is a weird thing with me, but I have trouble talking in front of like smaller groups than larger groups. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but so that's kind of why I think I get a little bit anxious when I go in a breakout room and it's a few others, because I tend to talk to fill the silence. And actually, that's a change that I'm working on because I'm aware of it. So if anyone has any ideas how I can like stop like rambling on phone calls and narrating and just like and not really having like I'm such a good writer. I'm very like concise in my emails, but if you heard me talk to you, it's very different. As I'm sure you've been able to tell, I just kind of so looking into how to make that kind of less of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're here, which is amazing. So thank you. Like you literally are in an event where you have to talk to people, which is incredible. I'm so happy that you're here. And I mean, that in itself is an action forwards for you to practice, because practice, right, shows you that there's nothing to be afraid of. But I mean, from what I'm hearing from what you just said, I feel that I ramble during smaller groups. And so it sounds like, I mean, that's a huge hint that, what is your inner critic telling you? And can we focus, instead of how do I get more comfortable in smaller group situations, how do I just feel good about what I'm saying and my expertise, and less about what other people might be thinking about what I'm saying, or what they might be thinking during this silence?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that is a great point. I just think the other thing that I should probably note is I am really outgoing. Like if I tell people I'm shy, they laugh at me. But I think it's just because I've learned over the years to overcome it, because I've always kind of been that person who's been expected to like perform. And honestly, I'm super sensitive. I'm an empath, and I have a tendency more to put other people in their energies and how they're feeling. Like my friends have a joke that they call me, like they say I have aggressive hospitality, because I just, I want to, like, I'm like an Italian grandmother. Like I just want to take care of people. And so if I sense that somebody's uncomfortable, I feel the need to jump in. Or if I sense that the room is a certain way, I feel the need to almost like fix it. So maybe it's letting go of that control and feeling the need, or maybe it's just putting myself first and preserving my energy so that,
Ooh, I have a fun, can I offer a challenge for you next time you're in smaller group settings?
Yeah, definitely.
If there ever is a silence, I want you to count to 5. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, like in your head before you can say something.
Oh. We should try it. Somebody, yeah, we should try that. Okay, I like that. That's a good challenge.
Can you make it a game? Like if you last 3 seconds, you get like a treat. If you last 4 seconds, and make it a little game for yourself and keep score.
Yeah, for sure. I love that.
And you can try with like your friends first, right? Before you go into like a group of strangers, but
sure.
I think that's an opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Really cool. I kind of want to hear how this goes, so I hope you reach out to me and let me know. My contact information will be at the end.
I'll let you know how it goes for sure.
Regina found her way back to the main session. Did you want to share with us, or are you here to listen so you don't have to speak?
I am a full-blown extrovert, so I love to participate. Very happy to see that this is, participation forward. Thank you for your attention and vulnerability, everyone. I am a human-centered designer. I help people to see the strengths within them and the value of their opinion and perspectives. But I have trouble valuing my own opinion and perspectives, which is ironic.
And do you have a definition for change?
Yes, to get to the point. I think not judging my opinions, actually trusting that gut that works so well for empowering others and works well in moving through a design process with others. I'd like to really trust that first instinct in myself and value my own opinion.
I'd love to ask if you have figured out, at least for yourself, something that you can do to highlight that your opinions are valuable.
I've started with being in service of others. So I work for a not-for-profit full-time, but I'm also volunteering with an organisation that helps teenagers to become social entrepreneurs. So
what's the name of the organization, if you can share it?
It's called Future Minds Network. and it's run by a 17-year-old person who I think it's in Australia and the US. So I'm slightly nervous to just be speaking in general. So my mind's gone blank. But yeah, so in valuing my opinion, I've been giving it to people who, in valuing my skills, to value my skills, I've been mentoring these young people through design challenges. So I get excited by their learning, and also, you know, I'm privileged to see the way their minds work. But, you know, it's of benefit to me because I can see how by me serving them and giving them structure to formulate their thinking, I'm providing value for them. And that, you know, in turn gives me a reflection of real value.
That does sound pretty powerful. I would like to jump on that and say I've actually this year joined a couple like kind of incubator for entrepreneurs and as a mentor, and it is really empowering and fulfilling to be on the phone or in person with these kids that are doing like amazing things, and you're just like, wow, that is so neat. I get to help you right now. Like, I want to see what you're going to be doing in 15 years. It's so cool, and it's fulfilling, really fulfilling.
And when we get to show them that every idea is a good idea, or ask them more about something that they, you know, they start to censor themselves, and I'm very careful to course correct them and say that their perspective is valuable, and it's absolutely you know, imperative that we go through this process to come up with the viable ideas. Like, I find myself like realizing that that's sometimes advice that I need. So yeah, this all sounds really selfish, but honestly, the kids that gravitate to the Future Minds Network are passionate about enhancing their communities. Pretty cool.
I'd say, you know, you're guiding others right now in your life. What would you do if you stepped out of yourself for a moment and kind of treated yourself like your own mentor? Like, what would a session look like for you? And if you came to the table and you said, you know, I'm not really sure if I value myself or my opinions right now, like, what would your response be?
Well, usually it's a reassurance. I mean, whether I've been working with like firefighters in a human-centered design process or teenagers in a human-centered design process, what I tell them is that we go through a process to get to a good idea, and that the ideas don't have to be perfect when we first share them. So yeah, it's valuing incomplete and snippets of ideas. So valuing the process, trusting in the process, not judging the ideas before they're fully worked through. That's what I usually tell people. So maybe that's...
You know what's coming up when you're saying that? It's like the concepts of success and failure. And, you know, if we can get to the point where our ideas and anything that we think is, you know, is success, right? Because failure doesn't really exist. Failure is progress. What truly is failure is stagnation, is not taking action. And so if we can look at our ideas and say, this idea is going to lead me forward. It's like, can you think of an idea you had as a kid where you did something and it didn't work out, but because you did that thing, you are now where you are today? And it's like, it's the fact that, wow, ideas aren't really supposed to win or lose. Ideas are supposed to be, you know, a place that we stop off at in our journey, that if we don't stop off at, we're not going to get to where we truly want to get for ourselves, or where we envision for ourselves. And I'll tell you, some of my video content, some of my article, and some of the stuff I put out, some of the businesses I created, you know, 10 years ago, those were some interesting ideas, but they've led me here. And no matter how big or how small, how dumb or how smart those were, they were important.
Yeah, absolutely. And any creative, entrepreneurial, anyone who thinks outside the box we probably experimented or started things more often than we've finished them. I mean, yeah, ever since
I'd say we're in the box too, right? There's no out of the box or in the box, right? Because that's in a sense like judging again our own thoughts. And it's like, you know, I think too often, especially as a creative myself, it's like, why can't I be more creative? And it's like, hold on a second. There is no other person like me in the world. I'm literally the only person like me in the world, unless you have a clone, and then still you probably have experiences, right? And then you still change. And so it's like, you are so unique. And like automatically because of that, your thoughts are creative, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, by the very fact that we're different, those solutions are going to be vast and valuable.
Yeah. Christina, we stole the show as we went back and forth. Did you have something to add about what change was, or?
No, I loved the discussion. I was going to say to Georgina that, I mean, those teens are so lucky to have you and to have someone to help with the reassurance and help through those bumpy bits in the road. And I'm just curious if you have people in your life to do that for you, and like, yes, stepping out of yourself and doing it for you, but also having a network of mentors and friendtors and people who can help when you're in those spots and help you on that journey.
Oh, what a wonderful idea. And see, I already want to correct your compliment and say, oh, I've only helped these kids out once I've only facilitated one session on the UN sustainability goals. But the fact that I've even done that, I should credit myself for, because a lot of people talk about it and don't do it. My mentor, I have a great network of inspiring, capable, mentor type people in my life. One who is a past boss of mine who I'm in regular contact with socially. But yeah, I've really only asked her to be a reference for me for jobs. I haven't asked her formally about strengths and weaknesses or talk to her about any of my ideas. So that's something that I could do. I could ask for help from people who I know would be willing to give it.
And I think also creating that like group of humans who have your best interests at heart. And like, I've created a group of friends who are in different areas of business, and they're sort of my personal board of advisors, and they're there, and they're basically, our main goal is to be cheerleading our successes, but we're also there for the top 10% and the bottom 10%. And we just try not to talk about too much in between. We just go for our big wins and losses, and we help each other through them. And it's been invaluable.
Thank you both for that. That is so powerful. I think too often we can't be our own champions, so we need to surround ourselves with champions. We can try to be our own champions and make a list of our successes and celebrate them as often as we can. But really, when we have someone that we can check in with regularly and connect with, and that we can look up to for support, as well as just to be there to say, yo, you're doing like a really good job. Like, you're making a difference. And that can create change. So thank you too. So welcome everyone back to the main room. So usually during a regular brainstorming session in person, I offer everyone the opportunity to take a 5-minute break. If anyone wants, I'm not sure if everyone wants to take a break or not, we can roll right into kind of the group conversation. But can we say yes or no in the chat box if we want a break or not want a break? I hear no, yes. I heard a couple, no, not needed.
No break.
Okay, so the people that need a quick break, what we're going to be doing as a group is just kind of chatting about the questions that we touched on. So I think maybe you guys can just take a few minutes and reflect, maybe turn off your sound, turn off your camera, and just take some time to yourself if you need it. And we'll be here when you get back. I think the majority of people are ready to keep going. So I'd like to open it up to the group right now and have some people share some points that came up during these brainstorming sessions. These were the questions that we went over. And I'd love to hear some thoughts that I wasn't able to hear because I was in the main room having my own brainstorming session. So please just unmute and and share. And then if you two people unmute at the same time, please just go next.
I'll start with something that came out of the last group that we did. And I don't even remember what topic we started on, but we were talking about how great it was to connect with the people and our values and how we were coping. And then it came to me that it was so easy to connect with the people in the breakout room. And it seems to be in each of the great breakout rooms, it was so lovely to connect with the people. And I wondered whether we would have been able to connect so easily with the strangers from anywhere in the world if this had been 3 months ago. So that comes from the changes that have been so global, and everybody's had similar changes, that I think we're connecting easier and we're wanting connection more now.
I like that you bring that up because honestly, it is tough sometimes to get people interested in getting, well, it's to getting people in a room together with strangers to have conversation is tough. And I think we're all going through something really similar right now, even though we're all going through it in our own way. And like you said, that similarities or shared experiences can create a desire to connect. And even just, we're all here today. We all decided to come out and to connect. And that in itself is a similar value.
Well, and just expanding on what was just mentioned was the aspect of, and this was also brought up with the last brainstorming group, was just the aspect of like really appreciating the physical connections that we did have, and like valuing any physical connection, or not physical, but like, I guess like in the real world connection that we still do have. So one of the participants was mentioning, driving by like an auntie and like saying hello, like, even though you can't physically give them a hug anymore, it's something about like visual, like physically like seeing them, within the real world. This is like really great. So anyways, yeah.
Yeah. Can you expand on that a little bit more? Like how, what does that tell you about being in front of people or connecting with people or spending time with people, like moving forwards when things do kind of calm down?
I know for myself, like I'm going to be 110% like more grateful and value every single like moment, because again, like it could be extremely temporary, because none of us knew that this was going to happen, at least to this extent, right? And so yeah.
Yeah, like that you brought that up, because I mean, even just the idea that I could get someone sick, right? I could go home and say hi to my parents and they could get sick. Like that in itself is so scary. It almost taught me more of like patience and empathy and compassion and awareness that I might not have, that I didn't have before everything. What are my actions going to create in the world? And as well as, oh, wow, I really love this person in this relationship. How can I show them that right now?
I think also for us, like to riff on that a little bit, one of the things that came up for us was the notion of intentionality. So one of the things that this has shown you is that we are being more intentional about how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, where we put our attention to, whether we're doing it kind of subconsciously in terms of what kinds of feelings and emotions we give time to, as well as, kind of more consciously in terms of what we actually, doing, how we're spending time with people and things like that. And the other one too was in terms of the anxiety, is that, there's this anxiety, and just one of the quotes that came to mind for me was from a sociologist, Fritz Stahl. And he said that, we're always most anxious when we don't know what we're anxious about. But once you can kind of point to that anxiety and say, okay, I know what you're about and I know what this is. And then you can kind of go through that process of, okay, this is something that I can either do something about, or if it's not something that I can do something about, then at least I know I can work around it. But it's just, again, it comes back to that intentionality of saying, you know what, I'm going to stay aware, stay in the moment, and really pay attention to what's going on around me, and basically looking at what is my connection to this, and what is my my place or my contribution to the situation.
Can I ask something that you've been a little bit more intentional about in this new
For me,
world? Yeah.
So definitely in terms of how I spend my time. So one of the things I talked about before was actually making time for creative pursuits. I realized how little I'd been making time for that. So, I've gone back to drawing. I picked up a saxophone just to kind of learn how to play saxophone. And another thing I started doing was making masks. I just started sewing and doing that kind of stuff. So, and the little thing, and this sounds a little trite, but in Netflix, I went in and I turned the setting off that basically has the next episode start right away. So you actually have to be intentional about the fact that it's like, yes, I am going to sit down for another 45 minutes and watch another episode, but that's a decision I need to make every episode.
I love all of those, and I need to do that to Netflix. Totally. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Would anyone else become more intentional? Would anyone else like to share something that they're going to take action on to create change? And I think, what you were saying was so important because change happens all the time, right? If there's any constant in the world, it's change. And we have the choice either to let change dictate our actions, our beliefs, everything about our lives, or we can choose to actually be the change, right? There's that quote, like, be the change you want to see in the world. And that's just not about like positive social impact, right? And making a difference. That's actually about, you choosing to create the change that you want in your life, despite the things that are occurring outside of yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to add something that we talked about in our previous group. Jessica and I were talking about how, lucky for us, we're safe and we're healthy. And for those of us who can have that privilege, this pandemic is actually an opportunity. And I think a lot of people have learned that there are a lot of benefits of being online. For me, I'm a college student and I have just incredible access to people and professionals that I wouldn't have been able to meet before. And because they have 30 minutes here and there in their day now, I have time to talk to them and gain experiences. And something that Jessica brought up that I think is piggybacking off of what you guys were saying is now is the time to focus on yourself and invest in what you care about and invest in your skill set. So that's kind of what we did. We took like a positive note of what COVID could be for us.
I know we had a few other people that wanted to jump in there, and thank you for sharing that. Because I do agree, like, man, there are like I don't even know which university, but I know universities are offering free classes, and that, like, when has that happened before? Like, almost every coach, every fitness instructor are offering free classes and free info. And that is incredible. I've done things that I've never done before, and I've taken advantage of resources that I never thought I would ever take advantage of. But I will admit that this past week, I've been deleting every single conference and webinar email that's come into my inbox because I was getting overwhelmed. What was personal and professional development became a stress and became a source of anxiety for me because I was feeling like I needed to do more. I needed to take advantage of everything. And so I think, one of the changes, at least for me, and I don't know if anyone else needs this, is being okay saying no, being okay saying that I don't have to do this week. I'm not going to have FOMO about professional development and personal development, right? I have enough FOMO about missing out on parties right now. So I just wanted to make sure that I can, put that out there.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's really coming forward for me is like how, like, I can't control anything that's going on. So being present is the most important thing. So when I have things coming at me that take me out of like what I have control over right now at this very moment, that's when I'm learning the importance of saying no. Is this going to benefit me or is this going to stress me?
I know that Bellin had something to say, or Sarah. I saw you guys on mute and wanted to make sure that you were able to chat.
I was gonna say that, like, part of me thinks that a lot of this will kind of teach people in a change to really like take in their surroundings, being present, because we know that we see 95% of people on their phones all the time. So I think that a lot of the change will come in kind of socially and kind of going back to the good old days, so to speak, all of like 20 years ago, not even, but I think that's a huge thing that I hope to see change, especially as you see like 12-year-olds running around with nicer phones than I have. No big deal, not bitter about it, but I think that's a change I think will be very positive. And I think someone else said this, but being more intentional about the things that I choose to do. Like you said, there's so much free stuff online, you get burnt out, and just taking the time for yourself and not exhausting yourself, even in the physical world where there's abundance of activities to do and art galleries to see or whatever. Choose the ones you really want to do because you don't want to have FOMO from not seeing one thing or going to another thing.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think one thing that like being intentional and being present and being focused, and one thing that goes along with that, I think people are becoming better listeners. And when you can really listen to someone, you can pick up so much of their emotion and so much of their feeling and what they're really saying, which can help elevate, prolong, and extend the conversation that you are having. And so I think a lot of people are becoming more intentional with the people that they are with, and becoming less focused on the distractions and listening to the outer noise, and really listening into what people are really saying in their mind and their heart.
One thing for me that I've been able to do is just really empty out space and like where I needed to. So it's a mixture of like physical space, because like I cleaned up my place. I've went through my email inbox. I've gone through like all my emails, and it's like my personal email that goes like way back, and I've been needing to do it for a while. But it also has to do with like my own like mental space as well too, where I've been able to, sit and be like, what is important to me? What are the things I'm going to tackle in my life? Because if when life was going at 1,000 miles per second, I wasn't able to do that. But now I'm able to like sit and say, these are the things that are important to me. This is how I stay focused, and this is how I can declutter. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like it's kind of helping you cut down the noise a little bit, and we're able to even figure out like where true friends are. I know she only lives a couple blocks away, but have I called her? Has she called me? I don't know. So it's definitely helping you kind of, yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, one of the things that change usually does, despite how traumatic it can be, like the loss of a job, moving, loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship. And right now it seems like loss of just the structure, the routines that we're used to, as well as it could be any of those things, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, I mean, loss of a relationship even. It tends to cause growth because it causes us to reflect and causes us to be more aware. And I think what's happening in the world right now, which is so powerful, is that it is not just a week-long figure out what's important to you and then back to normal. This is months and who knows how long, where we actually have time now to restructure and transform along with the world, which is pretty powerful. And I want to respect everyone's time, so I have a couple more thoughts to say to close us out, but I just want to open the door to anyone for a final thought from the group.
Well, I would like to say that for me it's an important time to be helpful to people, okay? For me it's very important, and to help with a few things, small, but for other people means a lot, and to let us help us also. It's a time of doing that, so for me it's important.
Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
Okay, guys, we brainstormed. Give yourself a pat on the back, because what comes after storms but rainbows? Oh, great job, everyone. You connected, you shared, hopefully you learned as well, and hopefully we have all grown. I know I have. I just want to close this off. Usually when I do this in person, I close it off with just something that I like to share from like my coaching perspective in terms of what can we do in the face of change? How can we manage change and deal with change? And so just for you guys, I came up with the ABCs of managing change. And this actually starts off with a lot of what we were talking about today. And that was awareness. Can you pay attention to what's going on? Can you gain clarity on the actual situation, the facts of the situation? And so first, when you're managing and dealing with change, you just want to understand, okay, what's really going on outside of my emotions, outside of my thoughts, just really what are the facts? And we lay these down. Next, you actually do want to take a look at your beliefs now. What do these facts make you think? What do these facts make you feel? How do you actually believe you're going to be impacted? And start dissecting those. Like, is this reality or are these just personal beliefs? Do you need to talk to other people to just kind of share what you're thinking is going to happen? Because a lot of times our beliefs are just a product of our experiences, about how we developed, the stories we tell ourselves. So now that we have the actual facts and our actual beliefs, we can step outside of ourselves and say, what will serve me moving forwards? Because the next step is commitment. What can you commit to in order to solidify these new beliefs that you want to have in the face of these facts? And so if you're ever dealing with change, struggling with change, just stop and think, okay, the ABCs, hold on, what's actually going on? What are the facts? How can I get curious about this and just understand all the details that I can? What do I believe about these facts? Any negative beliefs that you have the ability to be reinterpreted in a positive way. Something that you think is going to negatively impact your life, as you've probably seen today, most change has a positive outcome that you can find. Try to figure out a way to reframe those beliefs in a positive way. And then when you have this new positive belief, say, now what can I commit to in order to solidify this in my life, to take action, take positive action, to choose the change that I want to see in my own life? Just because there's change occurring in the outside world, and just because you think there's going to be a negative consequence of that, doesn't mean that has to be your reality. So what commitments can you take now moving forwards? Next steps, everyone. Please watch your email inbox. I think Creative Mornings will be sending out a follow-up email. Check your junk mail as well. I'm not sure if I included the slides, but I'll save these as a PDF and get them over so they're included in the follow-up email. I am offering a free clarity coaching session or a copy of my workbook, which is basically a monthly, a 6-month weekly workbook for you to create alignment in your life. If you want to enter that raffle, just copy paste that link or type it into your web browser. I'm just going to get your name and your email, and then basically if you're interested in having a conversation. And if you want to join me in another event, I have the event that I mentioned, How Not to Lose Your Shit. It's a weekly calls for the next 3 weeks. We're still going, and it's a Facebook community. We have free ebooks, free community support, free coach support in the group as well. And just reach out to me like I mentioned before. I'm always willing to have a conversation. No sales involved, literally just brainstorming, talking, sharing my experiences, learning about your experiences. I'm super active on LinkedIn, and every now and then I'll be on Instagram too. I really appreciate everyone's time today. You guys have been incredible. I've learned some things. Hopefully you learned some things. Hopefully you made some new friends, maybe even exchanged some contact information. A little hint, if you did really meet someone new that you really connected with, I think, everyone that RSVP'd shows up kind of on the who's attending list. So feel free to reach out to someone and just keep the conversation going, because, we need connection in this world. So thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks all.
Thank you to everybody.
Can't wait to go to
Thank you, Ben. Good night.
Good night, everyone. Good morning, wherever you are in the world.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Benjamin. Nice to see you.
Nice to see all of you.
All right.
I feel like I have a world of new friends now.